If President Trump imposes tariffs on the EU and not on the United Kingdom, hopefully, what plans has His Majesty's government got to protect part of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, that has been left in the European Union for some hundreds of trading areas? How will we be affected, and what will His Majesty's government do to protect citizens of Northern Ireland?
My Lords, we will always consider businesses across the country and their particular interests. However, it's difficult to comment on specific tariffs when there are few facts and more conversations and speculation to happen. Northern Ireland is part of the UK customs territory, and internal market, and goods moving into Northern Ireland do not subsequently enter the EU. We're considering what action will be in the best interest of all UK businesses, and will make sure the implications of Northern Ireland are considered in those discussions.
My Lords, the imposition of tariffs can have effects beyond trade effects. So, for example, this morning the New York Times reported that the Chinese Foreign Ministry is considering relaxing their cooperation with America on the import of the products necessary to make fentanyl. And fentanyl and other synthetic opioids has been responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands in America. So is the government ready for the reduction in the cooperation of China in this area on what might happen as a result, even in this country?
My Lords, of course we're aware that the US has imposed a tariff on all Chinese goods. Again, I would reiterate it's not for me to comment on another country's bilateral trade relationships. That's a matter for the US. But we are aware, of course, of China's retaliatory response to the US tariffs. We respect China's dialogue with the US, and we will not intervene. However, the government is prepared to take any necessary action to mitigate the potential economic impact on our businesses, and we will continue to monitor the situation.
My Lords, returning to the Noble Lady the Minister's first answer, of course I'm sensible that there are things that you don't say in public, but I do hope that in private His Majesty's government is making clear that we have an interest in free trade within North America. We are the largest investor in the US. We are affected by US tariffs on every component part that will be hit by them in that country. And we have an enduring interest in the prosperity of Canada. How can anyone in this country think of Canada without thinking of Vimy Ridge and Juno Beach and 100 other battlefields where they have stood alongside us? I do hope that we will be making very clear that free trade between the United States and Canada is a British national interest.
My Lords, Canada is a valued partner for the UK, including as a Commonwealth member state, and our shared ties are deep and historic. As noted by our respective Prime Ministers when they spoke on the 5th of February, our trade relationship with Canada, worth more than $26 billion in the 4 quarters to the end of quarter 3 2024, supports jobs and businesses on both sides of the Atlantic, and this is underpinned by our trade continuity agreement. These relationships are important and ongoing, and we will continue these discussions and will hope to further and deepen our ties with Canada in due course.
Third oral question, Lord Harris of Haringey.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
Tackling mobile phone theft is a priority for this government. The Home Secretary has brought together law enforcement agencies and the mobile phone industry to see what can be done to break the business model of mobile phone thieves, and the government has also included measures in the forthcoming police and crime bill. The Home Office will ensure all parties work together so technical innovations, policing and government efforts reduce this crime.
My Lords, I'm grateful for that answer. It would appear that the resale value of stolen mobile phones is of the order of £400, depending on the model stolen. Clearly, there is something not working if that resale market is so great. So could my noble friend give us an indication as to whether or not arrangements are being made both with mobile phone operators and with companies to ensure that once a mobile phone is identified as stolen, it is not just the account that can be locked, but also the phone itself using the IMEI number. And secondly, what comments does he have, and what does he think the lessons are for other local authorities in terms of the initiative taken by Labour Westminster, reversing the policy of their Conservative predecessors of increasing the number of CCTV cameras monitoring central London by 100, which they have just announced?
Well, I certainly congratulate Westminster City Council on its initiative on CCTV funding and on the additional cameras in place. CCTV provides both a deterrent but also critical evidence in the event of criminal acts such as mobile phones taking place. On his first point with regard to the mobile phone companies, when the Home Secretary met with mobile phone companies recently, she charged them with reporting back on what measures can be taken. Phone companies such as Apple, Google and others are currently looking at what they can do to ensure that mobile phones are not used again and can be either blocked and or their parts not compatible for the future. But the key issue is to determine, and this is what we're doing and working with mobile phone companies, is to determine whether phones are broken up and used for parts, whether they're resold in the United Kingdom, or as increasingly is the case, they're sold to a number of foreign countries where they are used with impunity. And that's the task that we've set mobile phone companies to look at how we can work together to ensure that we tackle all of those three issues.
A few Saturdays ago, I took Lady Evans to Theatreland. Between Shaftesbury Avenue and Leicester Square, she had her mobile phone stolen. We very quickly saw that she didn't have a phone, managed to track it on an app called Find My Phone. So I tracked Lady Evans's phone as it disappeared down Whitehall, through the embankment, over Westminster Bridge, and ended up in a premise in Brixton. We notified the police. We were given a police incident report number, and when we inquired about getting the phone back, they said, very much as the Minister just said, that it will probably be broken up and exported, and that the organised crime that takes these mobile phones are very difficult to prosecute. So can the Noble Lord, the Minister, notwithstanding Labour-run Westminster Council, track these vehicles that go down over Westminster Bridge? It'd be very easy to ascertain them, but would it also be possible to look into what the police are saying to the members of the public, that it's very, very difficult to stop?
Well, can I first of all say I'm extremely sorry for the incident. It's an awful crime. It worries people. It's a threatening crime, and also it can access personal data, so it needs to be reduced and stopped whenever possible. One of the measures that we have got actually in the Police and Crime Bill, which has been introduced into the House of Commons recently, is to ensure that police can take action quickly and speedily on the very point the Noble Lord mentions. At the moment, if a phone is tracked to a property, let's say in South London, a warrant has to be issued in order for the police to enter that property. The proposals in the Police and Crime Bill will ensure that on the authority of an inspector, the police can enter that premise immediately. So in the case that he mentions of his own family, if that were reported and a crime number logged and the phone tracked to a property in Lambeth, the inspector in Lambeth could immediately authorise a police visit and potentially either a recovery or arrest. I hope the opposition will support that when it comes before this House.
Phone thefts are almost out of control and taking up a huge amount of police resources. But these could be dramatically reduced if smartphones were fitted with advanced device locking technology. This technology, unlike kill switch technology, which is used by some of the phones at some of the companies that the Minister has mentioned, it is integrated at the operating level. It is resistant to factory resets, and crucially, is activated automatically without user setup, which is a major breakthrough. So will the government consider mandating its implementation in all new smartphones?
It's a very interesting suggestion from the Noble Lady, and one of the things I said, as I've already said, is that we are working with the mobile phone companies to look at what is in the interests of preventing crime, while at the same time ensuring that users and consumers can use their phone in an appropriate way. I'll look at that suggestion. We have a further meeting with the phone companies in around 3 months to report back on what action they've taken to date in relation to those issues, and we will certainly examine that for her.
My Lords, I think Baroness Ducey is right, is that design is the way to prevent the thing once stolen being valuable. and that therefore it's no point in stealing it. This morning I was out with the excellent cycling enforcement team in the City of London, who were enforcing cycling legislation, but more important,